Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Feenix Films Presents DIY Filmmaking. Tonight's topic is screenplays. Not much to really say about that by way of introduction, so I'm going to hand it off to one of our primary screenwriters here in the company, Kate McGrath. Kate?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not somebody that can teach people to write. I am in no way an English professor, but I will say, having struggled to get acting work as far back as college, I needed really a creative outlet, and screenwriting I knew was not just a way to exercise my voice, but also maybe even provide roles for myself and for all of you guys at Feenix, the people I care about. And I think there's a couple of things that have helped me in establishing a screenplay, and again, this is in no way me being a professor, but I will tell you a few things. First and foremost, and I learned this early from really great college professors, read plays that are good. You know, I learned the story structures of writers like Lillian Hellman and Arthur Miller and William Inge, and not just them, but contemporaries like Richard Greenberg, and realizing how they put a story together. I even read the screenplay American Beauty by Alan Ball, and that really helped me. I mean, that really helped me put together the first couple of screenplays that Feenix ended up producing. I will also say that when I was in college, I was able to get a hold of some Sid Field books, which are a little antiquated year-wise, but they still hold true. The first one I actually read was How to Sell Your Screenplay, and this was after I wrote my first screenplay when I was a junior in college, so it's never been produced, and I don't know if it'll ever be read. But one of the things he said was, make sure you have the writing. So many of us want to think, okay, we're going to make this picture, and here's what it's going to be about. But it's so key to have the story written. That doesn't mean things aren't going to change or evolve, but have something written, and then hopefully you'll work with an ensemble of people that will bring it to fruition. And one of our films that we did called Dealer that Nick directed, I wrote. We had a couple of rounds of notes to make it, applicable to our film company, so that we could work on a budget with barely anything, and find local bars and local apartments to film. So bear in mind that you should have something written to start off with, but it will evolve, especially in the world of indie film. So them's my notes, is read people that you like and study their structure. And also, if you can, Sid Field has written some really great books that I always go to, and one of them is the Screenwriter's Workbook, and it shows you, your Act 1, 2, and 3, and how to kind of draw out a diagram for your film and where you want it to go, and follow those steps. That helps me. Dave has also written films for us, and I'm sure he has other notes on how to get the things rolling.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I mean, I haven't written nearly as much as Kate has, but I think I have a couple of things that I've been writing, and the thing that I've noticed is that I tend to write about stuff that bothers me or irritates me, or or I find like I need some cathartic way of getting it out of inside me or whatever, and that's something that I think always be looking at stuff and thinking about stuff and saying like, well, this situation just really agitated me and I'm just not happy about it. And even if you're not like writing your script, I think that's something people don't understand, is they think like I have to have my whole script written and I have to write every idea in a script format. No, you can write it in a paragraph and just like write, today at work, such and such, then when I was driving in the car, blah, 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 and then jot these notes to yourself. And then when you do get that burst of, I'm going to write something, a lot of my writing has been, I've thought about it, I've thought about it, I've thought about it, I've written notes, and then I'll sit down in a weekend and I'll just blast out as much as I possibly can. Um, and for our first full-length feature, Nikki Newark, I had discussed it, thought about it for a while, and then I ended up sitting down on a Friday, and by Sunday I had finished the script. So, yeah, but there were lots of these personal things that I was pulling up in these notes that I was referring to, and I found that very helpful because at least I was still writing, and I was thinking about it in my head, even though I hadn't put it into the quote unquote proper industry format yet. Like, don't worry about industry format until you start shopping it around to people, or you're giving it to actors or whatever, or people who you're looking at having possibly directed or produced it. Just get your idea out, because you're going to rewrite that thing like Kate just said. You get rewrite notes, and then it's like there's a scene that you love, and someone says, "Gee, this part sucks. This is like the worst part of this is the worst thing you've ever written." Meanwhile, you thought you exploded your heart out onto it. So yeah, it's use what you can. Use the things that agitate you that maybe no one else gets, and that you want to kind of convey, annoy you, but you don't know how else to do it. By doing it in a creative way, I think you get a lot of things removed from you, and kind of make it a positive experience.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback, Dave, off of what you said, I think Dave and I write almost the same way, where, we have a lot of sort of external, external visuals that happen, and then all of a sudden I'll be on a bus, and somehow the dialogue will just be bam, 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 bam in my head. So I guess, just to keep that in mind, that your ideas will come from anywhere, and always have a notebook. I learned that from a comic, actually. Always have something to write in your bag or on your person, because these ideas will come to you, and then the next thing you know, they're gone. So, and yeah, I think it's so important to take your time. We talked in one of our podcasts about character development, and that's really important to the screenwriter. As an actor and a screenwriter, you depend on those things. So take your time. Write what you know, but also research it. And make any note you can, and every idea that you have, write it down as quickly as you can, and bear in mind that it'll evolve with your actors, with your director, and hopefully all for the better. So.
Yeah, you can use modern technology too. I can't tell you the amount of times I've texted something to myself on my phone, or emailed, my own email, saying, typing out an email from my phone stating an idea or a thought or a line of dialogue or an experience that just happened, and how this could serve the story and serve the character and whatever. And you email it to yourself, and now you have an electronic record of it in your email and on your phone, so you don't have to even worry about losing it in any way. So nowadays, with having so much technology at our fingertips, you really you have lots of options to make sure that you're amassing your story army before you're ready to unleash it onto the page or whatever.
Yeah, and Dave, you brought up a really good point about not worrying so much about format. I wrote in play format for years, and that's what I knew. I don't think that if you have your ensemble and you have your script, don't worry necessarily about putting it into that final draft format. But I will say that watching a movie and then reading the screenplay of it is extremely helpful, because you see the full picture of what the writer thought. You'll see scenes that maybe didn't make it into the film, but certainly I'm sure helped the actor or the director. And it also shows you the format, so that you know that you can set a scene in a dark hallway, and even if it maybe doesn't come to fruition because of budget or location, it does help the director and all the other talent to understand what you had envisioned. So, yeah, I think that the world can be definitely your oyster, and it does take time, but if you, it's a story that you know, and as Dave said, it inspires you, whether it's good or bad, you'll write it. It will come out someday. It's just a matter of working hard, like anything else. So.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring it around to DIY filmmaking idea and go from an angle of someone who isn't a screenwriter. If you're a company or an actor, even, or a director looking for a screenplay to produce, I have to go with what Dave and Kate have been saying as writers, which is they write what moves them and things that get to them. The same should hold true when you're looking for something to produce. If it moves you, if it gets to you, don't pick a screenplay just because you think it will be successful. Because chances are, if you are not invested in it, no one else will be either. And yeah, you want to find one where you know you can find the locations you need and the stable of actors and all those other kinds of things. But yeah, I think ultimately, if the story's good, the characters are well developed, and it moves you, then there's a really good chance that the same will hold true for anyone who works on it and anyone who sees the end result. So that's Screenplays. This is another episode of Feenix Films Presents DIY Filmmaking. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Nick, and on behalf of Dave, Kate, and Janine, we appreciate you watching. Feel free to leave comments, questions, follow our links, and visit us at feenixfilms.com. And see you next time.